Welcome to another episode of Inspired Voices. My name is Oliver Riera, and this is Sana.
Hi. Sana. I love how you say that.
Thank you. Appreciate you being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Why don't you tell everybody what you do?
See, that's the thing.
Actually, before you answer that.
What do I do? I don't know. I actually don't know how to answer that question. Ask me a different way because I do a lot. I have a full-time job now as of last month. I have businesses in like food industry. I do a lot of social media stuff. I do events. So, I mean, what do I do?
That's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I am Sana. I am a marketer and I'm a community.
She's a community.
Stop it. I'm telling you, this is going to be the hard. You're going to regret having me here.
You're fine. But I did want to have you on because I like what you're doing, right? So like you run Get to Know Raleigh?
Get to Know Raleigh, yeah.
Yeah. And is there any other pages that you run or is it just that one?
I run One Eats. That's my business. That's my primary business that I started 5 years ago. It's the food business. I run that one. And I run my personal account, The Real Sanas.
Yeah. But I wanted to have you on because you are making a difference in this community and you're showing people what this community is all about. And so that's why I wanted to have you on.
Okay, well, thank you so much.
No problem.
I appreciate that.
Exactly. Did you have questions about this studio or anything like that?
I have questions. Like I said earlier.
It's like you've been dying to tell me or ask me.
I know. Get to Know Raleigh. I interview people, right? It's different format from what you do, but I have been following you for a while. And I see just in the way maybe, I'm thinking maybe a little bit technical, the way you edit things, the way you tell storytelling, right? The way you tell stories. Right. That resonates with me. I feel like I do a little bit of that as well. So we kind of do something similar. And I was just very curious, like, why? Like, what got you into it? Because I know why I got into it. Like, why?
Well, okay, there's a few reasons why I started this. It's because one of the reasons is when I was younger, I felt like I didn't have any options when there was so many options for me. And so I wanted to present people and share their stories to let people know that there's options out there for them. In life.
Options in terms of like career or...
Career, life, whatever it is, you know what I mean? Because everybody has a story, but, maybe that one story changes a life somewhere else. Another reason why I started this is because I started to realize that the guests that I have on are sharing their stories and they're realizing how amazing their life is and how much they've changed in general for the good. And so that's another reason, right? And also to show what this community has to offer. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's like kind of like all of that.
Is it about Raleigh? You're trying to highlight what Raleigh has to offer, the stories?
It's not like focused only on Raleigh.
Like what do you mean when you say community, this community?
Well, the community of entrepreneurship, the community of artists.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, which, is mostly around North Carolina and Raleigh. Okay. So.
Asheville, but
Asheville, all that.
Yeah.
Poor Asheville.
I know. It's I thought of that.
Right. Yeah. So let's start from the top.
Yeah.
Where are you from?
I am. I can't do that.
When were you born?
Oh boy.
What's your social security?
Yes, I know. I grew up in Saudi Arabia.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, gotcha. I moved here when I was 15. I went to high school in Durham.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Why did you move?
Immigration. My family moved here. I moved here with my family.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got our green cards. My dad's family was here, so it was in process. It was just something we knew that. So, I mean, going back to Saudi Arabia, if you want to go that far.
Yeah, let's do it.
Things are probably different now. It was probably different back then. This is like 25, maybe 30 years ago. I moved here 25 years ago. So back then, again, I don't know how things are there now, but back then, we were foreigners in Saudi Arabia. My family's from Pakistan.
Okay.
Right? I grew up in Saudi Arabia, but I never actually you're a foreigner. You're there temporarily. It doesn't matter. You can't buy a house. It's it's that kind of situation.
You're restricted and stuff like that.
Yeah, because you're just there for work, and one day you're gonna go back to your country. So we lived in we all lived in little pockets of communities like Indian, Pakistan, or just like maybe. I don't know if it's a good example, but in New York you would have Little Italy or Little China, right?
Yeah.
So unfortunately, I never got to even learn the language because my parents were more concerned with me learning the language of their home.
Oh, wow.
Because one day we were going to leave this place, so they wanted me to make sure I'm ready to go back.
Interesting.
But we just ended up coming here, which is great. I love it.
Right.
So yeah, that's the backstory.
Okay. Gotcha. How was it growing up in Saudi?
I mean, it was great. We had a great childhood. It was a great community. I loved every minute of it. It's a lot of stereotypes. Obviously, if it's not what you hear or see in the media. Right? Yeah. So it was great. I'll tell you my first impression when we moved to Raleigh.
Yeah.
I lived in a big city in Saudi Arabia. If you look up Riyadh, it's like it's a major city. The first thing was when we came to Raleigh, I was like, oh my God, it's just so trees. Where are the buildings? It gets dark after 9 p.m. Where are the people? Right. So it was one of those things. So.
Did you move to Raleigh when you
Raleigh,
went to the
Durham.
States?
Yeah.
Okay.
We came to Durham.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
My uncles were here.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So we're going way back now.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, that's a big change, though. You know what I mean?
That was a big change. I was 15.
And you didn't know English or anything like that?
I knew English. We learned English in school.
Okay.
We didn't. I was not conversational, so we didn't really talk in English. It's kind of like if you're taking Spanish as a second language here.
Yeah. You don't really use
Let's say you take it, throughout your every single year.
Yeah.
But when you go to Mexico or Spain, how conversational are you going to be?
Right.
So it was kind of like that for me. It didn't take long for me to adjust to that in the beginning. It was, but I was concerned. I was concerned. Do I speak English? Do I know English?
That's funny. So was it hard for you for the first few months or something like that?
Gosh, I feel like I'm so old. I can't even remember some of that stuff.
That's fine if you don't.
It was hard just because it was a change, right? I was mad at my parents. Why'd you bring me here? It was one of those things. I didn't have friends here, but I did have family. My cousins were here, so it was okay.
Yeah.
It was okay. My family, we're all very close together, so it was okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So at 15 years old, right? So what kind of happened throughout those years of your teenage years?
Gosh, this feels like therapy. Oh my God. I love it. It's just, I'm not used to talking about myself.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird for me.
Right.
I'm just so tempted to kind of throw these questions back at you. I'm stopping myself because I'm like, wait, what about you?
Well, feel free to answer it, but you can throw it back at me.
Yes, because I don't want to interrupt your flow, your process, but I'm very curious.
Well, about what?
About you.
What about me?
How long have you been here? Are you from here? Where's your family from or what? So.
I'll tell you a little bit.
Yes.
So my family's from Venezuela.
Okay.
And so I was the only one in my family that was born here.
Okay.
I was born in Dallas.
Dallas. That's why you said.
Dallas, Texas, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
But 6 months after I was born, we moved to Boston, and then we moved to Miami. We didn't really have a place. Yeah,
wow,
yeah.
Okay.
We were just kind of staying at friends' houses, or my parents' friends' houses.
Okay.
Then when we settled in Raleigh.
Yeah.
Around 5 years old or something like that.
So you've been here all this time?
Yeah,
Okay.
when there was a lot of dirt roads and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a...
Okay, well good, that gives me some context about you because we've never met before.
Right.
And here I am, this is
spewing out all your...
I know, who are you? How are you going to use this information against me? Where is it going to go?
You never know. I have ideas.
Okay. So what happened? 15. I was in high school. Went to graduated from Jordan High School in Durham, and then my family.
Wait, hold on. Let's go back when you moved here, because
Okay.
you went to high school, obviously.
Yeah, 2 years, junior and senior.
Junior, senior.
Yeah.
So that junior year when your first day of school in America, right?
Yes.
How was that for you? Was it nervous? Were you nervous about it?
I was not. I just didn't know, honestly. There was so much. So much was changing. I just didn't know to be nervous, honestly. I was just kind of, it's like, where you're in an unfamiliar place, you just don't really know what's going on.
Yeah. Is it like overwhelming or something?
Oh, maybe
Okay.
that. I'll give you what you're looking for, okay? So my first day in class, we were talking to my guidance counselor, and she was trying to assess my level of English, right? She was talking to me, and she was trying to figure out, which level, should I go to ESL or English as second language or whatever. And I was like, no, you should put me in ESL, literally. And she's like, okay, you seem to be understanding everything that I'm saying. I'm like, no, trust me, I don't speak English. She's like, you seem to be speaking fine. And I'm like, no, trust me, I don't.
You don't even have an accent. Okay.
No, I had an accent. I still do.
Then when you were talking about.
And she was like, no, I think we'll put you in English 1. I was like, no, don't. I need to learn English. So that's where I was mentally. Like,
Gotcha.
I don't know. How am I gonna, fit in, kind of thing. So she put me in regular English, and I show up to my class, and the teacher had a very thick Southern accent. See, that is something I wasn't familiar with.
Right.
He was talking, and I was like, there was this instance where I was taking notes, and then I realized I was taking notes even when he had stopped talking about the notes, and he was having a conversation with someone, and I was still taking notes about,
About that conversation?
Yeah. So it was just that, it was very overwhelming.
Interesting.
So right after that class, I ran back to my guidance counselor. I was like, I don't understand anything the man was talking about in the class. Why didn't you put me in ESL? And she was like, who was it? And then she was like, well, it's the accent. It's not that you don't know the language. Everybody has a different accent.
Yeah, yeah.
So it was just those little things that you don't really think about, when, like, an accent, I'm thinking, wait, I don't even speak the language. What.
Right, yeah. I had to take ESL when I was...
Did you?
Yeah.
Because you were 5.
I was 5, but like,
No, you were born here.
I was born here,
Yeah.
but my first language is Spanish.
Yeah, okay.
And so I had to learn English.
Because you spoke Spanish at home until you went to school?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's weird, it's like these, a lot of Latinos that were born in America, they don't speak like perfect Spanish.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And so
Spanglish?
The Spanglish, that's excellent.
Yeah.
But like, and one of the reasons why is because, I grew up, my dad was always, don't speak Spanish, speak English. You're in America, you have to learn English, and all that. So I ended up not losing my Spanish, but I couldn't remember all the words.
How is it now?
It's good. I mean, like Spanish?
Yeah.
It's okay.
So when you're hanging out with your family and you're just kind of sitting there and everybody's talking in Spanish, do you feel left out? Or?
I can understand. I can understand a lot more than how I can say it and stuff like that. So that's kind of how it is.
I kind of get it. My kids, they speak English. And I try to talk to them in Urdu just because I want them to have that skill. I want them to know another.
Language?
Urdu. Urdu is a language from Pakistan. It's very similar. Okay. It sounds very similar to Hindi. It's written differently.
Okay, gotcha.
But just I want them to know a different language. Not like, I grew up in Saudi Arabia, I don't even speak Arabic. So I know what that's like. I don't want them to blame me when they're older.
Right.
But yeah, they understand everything, but they don't speak.
Gotcha.
So I get it, sort of. Yeah.
But, so you kind of went through school and you finally got comfortable, obviously, right?
I made friends right away from India and Pakistan. So I found my own little group, people who spoke the same language and who looked like me, So I started forming that little network or community.
Did that make it easier to kind of
It did, because many of them had been, and they were in ESL, which upset me because I didn't get to hang out with them. It made me feel better, But that's the thing, maybe it was so long ago, or maybe it's different when you're looking back and you're looking for answers to these questions. Like you're asking me, was it hard? Were you nervous? When I was in it, I wasn't thinking any of that. I was just, I wouldn't say survival mode because I didn't even think that I was surviving any. It was just like, I'm in it. How do I manage this? What do I do next? I'm just, trying to manage the situation. I'm not thinking about how am I feeling or what are, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that's the case with most of the things. When you're in a situation, you're trying to just manage the situation naturally. You're looking for the solution, or you're looking for, the right things to do, or, you're not thinking, well, so how am I feeling right now? You know?
Well, I mean, you know, when you're in an environment that you're not used to, it can be like, okay, so you know, like, and then, you know, with maybe people looking at you, you're feeling uncomfortable and stuff like that because you don't know how to speak the language perfectly.
Yeah.
And stuff like that.
So I understand what you're asking. I actually had this conversation with someone a few months ago where they asked me if it was hard for me to, you know, kind of fit in when. Right. Oh, they were asking me about racism. You know, were you targeted because, you know, brown girl, you know.
Right.
And this is what I realized. I grew up in a very multicultural society or a community. Even though, you know, we were kind of like in a place where, you know, we were in like a Pakistani community or whatever, we were in Saudi Arabia, a country that was different from my home country, right? Yeah. So I grew up with people from different backgrounds, different countries, they spoke different languages, right? So, the racism is in all cultures, right? Yeah. But I maybe it's difficult to explain. When I got here, I wasn't thinking. I just didn't know. I'm sure I was targeted. I'm sure, you know. But I didn't know. I didn't like. What do you call it? Ignorance is bliss, I guess. So it didn't bother me. I was fine. Okay. Gotcha. You know, and I'm sure there were things, but I kind of just, you know, looked over it, which is good. Gotcha. Yeah. So I wasn't like traumatized or anything.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
But I've had these conversations with my brothers, and they're like, "Well, you know what high school's like." I'm like, "I don't know what you're talking about. That was like this, you know."
I think for males, are more maybe targeted with racism.
Maybe
like that. Maybe I don't know.
Maybe that's what it is.
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely gotten targeted for racism and stuff like that. So
like earlier grades or just throughout?
I think throughout. Yeah, throughout.
Like high school?
You know, I wanted to date some white girls in high school and stuff like that, but they couldn't date me because their parents said that I'm brown, I can't date them and stuff like that. So and that happened like maybe a lot.
But you're not that old. How old are you? Do you mind me asking?
39.
Oh, you and I are about the same. I'm 41. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sad. I'm sorry to hear that. But hey, you know, it made you who you are today. Their loss, right?
Exactly.
Right?
But so yeah, high school. You're done with that. What was the next step in your life?
College. I went to state.
So you went straight into college?
Yes.
Okay.
I started off as I started NC State part-time. So I was taking part-time classes the first year, I think, and then I transitioned into a full-time student there. Gotcha. It took me 6 years to graduate because I worked.
Oh, wow.
Towards the end, I was working full-time. So yes.
So you were doing like part-time school or something like that?
The first year I did part-time school and I worked because I just wanted to, when I started college, I wanted to see, it probably makes sense to you or it would make sense to somebody who's grown up here that, you know, you graduate high school, now you want to work, you want to see, you know, you want to learn, right? Yeah. For me, it was different because my parents said, no, you're going to school, you're not going to work. Why are you working? Why do you need the money? You know, why are you working? So I wanted to work in the high school, and when I was in high school, I wanted to work back then as well, but my parents were like, no, you're going to focus on school, which is good.
Did you want to work just because you wanted money?
No, I wanted to work just because I wanted to experience, like to get the experience, to see what, you know, what business is like, you know, just we wanted to learn by doing, right? Yeah. So that's what I did. First year in college, I went to school part-time and I worked. I worked at Crabtree Mall, Macy's.
Nice.
Used to be Hex. You may remember that.
Hex.
Do you remember the Hex?
I don't think I remember Hex.
I am 2 years older than you.
It's a long time.
HECCH.
I don't remember that. Hex. How long were they around?
Gosh, they were...
Or when did they close, I guess?
I worked there until 2004, I think. Okay. Gotcha. They probably closed maybe a few years later. They didn't close. They turned into Macy's. Everything was the same, just the brand.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Then I worked at the Hello Kitty store at Crabtree Mall for 2 years.
Nice.
I loved it. They closed down too.
Right.
Recently, I think a few years ago. Do you know? Do you ever go that way, Crabtree Mall?
I mean, I used to go to the mall all the time, like back in the days, but
Yeah.
I don't really go to the mall anymore.
Nobody does. People do.
Unless I have to buy jeans at the mall because
I just order everything online, Amazon.
But
I support small businesses. Oh my God! Cut that! Cut that!
She didn't say that.
I support small businesses on Amazon.
Right? Yeah. Hey, small businesses are on Amazon.
But I do order everything online because I don't have time to go shop. I just don't.
Well, it's different for like clothes with me, I guess, because like I want to try them on.
Oh, you can return stuff on Amazon. You try it, doesn't fit, you return, you get another size.
That's too much work.
Yeah, I'd rather do that than actually drive somewhere.
Yeah.
But yes, nobody goes to the mall anymore, I guess.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. But so you had what did you go to school for?
For at State?
Yeah.
Biological engineering.
Biological engineering.
Yeah.
And you graduated with that?
Yes.
Okay, gotcha. Why did you want to go into that?
Oh my God, there's a story about everything. And you want to know like, like the real story behind everything?
Well, what's the real story?
Oh my God.
Is it more dramatic?
So the first year, yes, it's dramatic. Okay, the first year I was in college, I wanted to do computer science because my dad said that I'm supposed to do computer science, because that's what you do, either science or engineering, right?
Oh, right.
And I wasn't into medicine, so like I didn't want to be a doctor or a physician or whatever. So to me, it was going to be more towards engineering. So computer science it was. And the first day I walked into, I don't know if it was a class or I was with a friend, I walked into this lab. I don't mean this as an offense to anyone, but I walked in and there were a lot of people that looked like me, brown people, India, Pakistan, I guess, right? And the first person that I spoke with, I said, "Oh, so what do you what's your major?" And he said, "Computer science." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And he was like, "Let me guess, computer science." And I was like, "No." Just because I always had this thing. It's like I don't want to just be like, how do you say that? I think you understand what I'm saying.
Oh, like
I don't
a stereotype?
Stereotype.
Yeah.
Yes. I hate stereotypes. I just never wanted to be one. I'm pretty sure I am one in so many different ways, but as far as I can control it, I walked away from there and I was like, no, I'm not doing computer science. What sounds like completely different from what anyone like me would do, biological engineering, right? But it did go, it was not just like, I'm just gonna pick that and go do that.
Okay,
I did go to their info sessions and I sat through the whole thing and it just made sense. I totally wanted to do that. And so that's how I got into that.
Was there a goal in mind about like what you actually wanted to do as a job with that?
Honestly, back then, everything was so vague. Okay, I didn't have specific goals. I wanted to graduate with an engineering degree because that's what I was supposed to do. Get good education, and then be able to make money so that I can pay off the loans or help out my parents.
Right.
I just wanted to make money.
Sure.
The right way. I wanted to do things just the right way, properly. You go to school, you get a job, you pay off your you know what I'm saying.
The classic way of doing it.
Yes, the very traditional way, right? That's what I wanted.
Yeah.
And I worked towards it, and that's basically what I did.
Okay.
Like internships while I'm still in school.
Right.
Paid off my loans. Paid off. I graduated with no student loans. I had everything paid off. Yeah, but
Very
I
cool.
worked. I worked for it. Sometimes I wish that maybe I had it. I wish I had just had a little fun.
Oh, so you never really had any when you went to parties and stuff like that?
Never.
Really?
Not even once.
Wow.
Not once.
Even in college?
Not once.
Not once.
Not
Huh.
once. I'm very boring.
You know what? Just get out of here.
I used to sit Global Village across from the library.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
DHL library, it's still there. Global Village on Hillsborough Street is still there.
Yeah.
It's right across from the library, tiny little coffee shop.
Yeah.
I used to that was my party time. I would just treat myself to a little, frozen drink or whatever, coffee.
Right.
And then coffee.
I bet your parents were proud of you, though,
Yeah, they're proud.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I mean, you're doing all the good things, the correct things.
Hey, parents are never happy. You know that.
That's true.
Right? Okay. You know what it's like.
Right.
You can do everything right, but yeah, my parents are proud of me now.
So, do you feel like you had like are you the type of person that has like a lot of different jobs? Like, not just now, but like back then too, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Gosh, back then, I've worked in so many different things. I worked at the Hello Kitty store like I said, in retail.
Oh, really?
Right?
Interesting.
When I was in college. And then I was in mortgage collections. That was when I was still in college. Remember Wachovia before they were bought out by Wells Fargo?
Yeah.
So I was in collections for 2 years. I called people up and said, make your payment or we're going to foreclose on you.
Damn. But people
hard.
hated you.
And that was around the time Katrina hit.
Oof.
And these were like automated calls where we would just be put on phone with these people who have just lost their homes. And we're like, so when's your next payment coming in?
Oh, wow.
How
How was that for you?
It was hard.
To do?
It was 2 years. And most people that started that job left within a month or two.
Damn.
Including some of my friends that I tried to get in, but they left. It was hard, but I think early on, that was one of the most important jobs that I had ever done. I learned the most from that.
What do you mean?
In many, many different ways, because so here I am, just still worried about, is my English okay? Am I talking fine? And then I'm like arguing with people over phone. You need to make your payments, sir. Getting yelled and kind of. So it was a lot of lessons in that job where how do you talk to people while you're still being professional, right? How being assertive about things. So it was a very important job for me.
Interesting.
Yeah, and 2 years, and it was tough. There were ups and downs where you are talking to people who are going through a lot. Like nobody wants to not pay their mortgage.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, that's not the intention.
Exactly. So I did that 2 years. And then after that, I progressed more towards my profession where I got a job in an electromechanical lab here. I did failure analysis on motors, like why did this motor fail out in the field. That was my very first internship.
Why did what?
Why did this, motors that failed out in the field, like little motor parts, like
Gotcha.
robotic components.
Oh, interesting.
Why did it fail? So I started off doing that. That was my first internship.
Yeah. Did you like that?
I loved it.
Yeah. It's
absolutely.
like problem solving,
Yeah. It was very hands-on, and that was my last year in college as well. So I worked almost full-time there. From there, so here's what I've done. After that, so that was, I graduated, worked as a quality engineer, mechanical engineer,
Okay.
software developer,
Wow.
Java programming,
Yeah.
in marketing, product management.
Wow.
And that's something sort of I keep going back to. And right now, I am, as of last week, back in the corporate world.
Right.
So I'm in marketing, product management, product marketing.
Okay, gotcha.
Again, and then started my own business.
Well,
Started
so-
social media. So you asked me all these little things. So
absolutely. I love it.
I'm all over the place. I'm just like,
So out of those jobs that you've had, that you mentioned, which one was your favorite?
my favorite job is one that I keep going back to.
Okay.
I was with this company for 3 years, and I left to go do something entirely different. It's just because I wanted to change my careers.
Okay.
And then I didn't like it. 3 years later, I went back. I was like, ooh, can I come back? And they let me come back.
Nice.
I worked there for 3 years, same job, and I loved it. And then something came up, and I left again. And then after that, I started my business 5 years later.
Gotcha.
5 years or whatever. And then as of last month, I went back to that company. It took me back.
I like it though.
So that's
I like
my favorite job. I mean, it's the same job. I absolutely love it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I mean, you hopped around to these jobs. I don't know. I feel like it seems like you're comfortable taking risk and comfortable changing your life.
Yes.
Would you say that's right?
100%.
Yeah.
Because it's about opportunities, right?
Yeah.
Kind of like what you said earlier, that did you I don't know, did you use the word opportunities where you didn't have many growing up? Is that what you said?
I think so.
Right?
I can't remember.
I don't know what you said. I feel like it just, your childhood, the way you grew up turns you into who you are, I guess subconsciously.
Yeah.
So I never actually thought about what I am, what am I doing, But I think I am like that. When I see an opportunity, I want to jump at it. I want to take it because I used to joke about this thing that, when I'm 80 years old and I'm looking back, like anytime I had to make a decision, should I go for it, should I not? I would say when I'm 80 years old and I'm looking back, would I regret taking it or would I regret not taking it?
Right. That reminds me of Les Brown. He's a motivational speaker. And he said that, what if you're on your deathbed and all your opportunities are around you in the bed, just looking at you, angry at you that you didn't take the opportunities.
Yeah. Would you just fight back like, yeah, I'm so glad I didn't take you? Or would you say, oh, I wish I had?
Right, yeah.
Right?
But you're a risk taker. And I think that has a lot to do with where you are now and how great you've become.
Well, thank you for saying that. I don't think I've become great. I just think I've grown and I'm still growing, right?
Yeah, obviously. Yeah.
But yeah, opportunities, that's the thing about it. What I didn't like, when I graduated, I got a job and, I worked so hard in college where you're going to school, you're working. Well, most people party in college. I'm working.
I've been working since 14.
There you go. So you get it. That's why I kind of wanted to know a little bit more about you because I feel like you and I may have things in common.
Yeah. I've worked since I was 14, different jobs, and risk taker,
Right.
To me, it doesn't seem like a big risk, but for someone on the outside,
yes,
it's a big risk. You know what I mean?
So what makes us like this? There's this, I think there's something very similar.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just the things that we didn't have maybe growing up or...
Yeah, that and the fact that I didn't want to listen to even my parents.
Yeah.
Like when they were talking about like, oh, you need to do this, you need to go to school and get straight A's. For me,
rebellion?
Rebellious, yeah. And so like, for me, I was like, I knew what made me happy and I wanted to do that. And it's not like I was like going off in my younger years, I was doing drugs. But besides that,
okay.
like with music, I was in bands like most of my life.
Yeah.
And so like I wanted to do that. I thought I was going to be a rock star,
Oh, well, what makes you think you can't? No.
Well, I almost did,
Okay.
We almost got signed to Capitol Records.
Okay.
So, but it didn't work out for a weird reason, but yeah.
So what did you give up on it or?
I knew that I wanted to go into music somehow. And so I ended up going to school for audio engineering.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah. So, and I thought I was going to be like in a studio with bands and stuff like that. But when I went to school, they kind of opened up opportunities as far as like, you could do movies, you could do TV, you could do all these different things that has to do with audio engineering. And, I got into movies.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I got into acting. So I started acting professionally.
Seriously?
Yeah.
What, have I seen you on TV somewhere?
I played a doctor on TV.
You did?
Yeah.
What show?
Nashville.
I've heard of that show. I actually don't watch TV or movies, but I've heard of that show.
Yeah.
That's very impressive.
Yeah.
So
did a bunch of commercials and stuff like
are you not doing that anymore?
Yeah, I'm still doing it.
You're still doing that. Okay, see, I need to learn. What do you do? What do you do? What do you do? Let's talk about that. Let's turn the tables.
Okay. So photography, videography, actor, audio engineer, and then this.
You do all of that professionally?
Yes.
Okay. Of all of this, how much time would you say you dedicate towards each one of those jobs or activities? Let's say in a month.
Ooh.
Percentage.
Percentage-wise, I think the most is audio engineering because that has to do with like most of my income.
Are you working for someone? Is this your business?
I'm a contractor.
Okay.
SS.
Okay.
And so, yeah, doing that and photography, videography. I still do it from time to time. I did it a lot, but that's another thing. Like I was telling you earlier, last year, I was like, what's the goal with this videography, photography business that I have? And I knew that I didn't want to do commercials for the rest of my life. I felt like I had more to offer.
Is that what you were focusing on back then? Commercials?
Mm-hmm. Like promos and stuff like that. And so it made me realize that my goal was not where I want it to be. So I kind of like took a break, and then I had to reset my foundation.
When was this?
Last year.
Last year.
Yeah. I had to reset my foundation, and I had to figure out what made me happy again. I didn't know. And so I started with what in the past made me happy. And this podcast was actually one of them. I was like, well, let me start there. And then this is how
I'll wait for you to tell me you're done with it after this interview. You're like, I'm done, I can't do this anymore.
So, yeah, and that's how it happened.
So when you say you took a break, what was that like? What do you mean? Like, was it like a couple of months, couple of weeks, or basically you stopping, thinking about what you want to do next and just start working on that immediately?
I took a break. I was still doing audio engineering. So I had like income coming in, but I didn't know what I wanted to do at all. So, I mean, and ended up taking a break for a few months.
So audio engineering, that's your day job, would you say?
I would say that,
like
yeah.
9 to 5-ish, you work on that, or?
Part-time. I mean, it's
Part-time,
a contract work, right?
Okay.
So it's not like...
Did you say SaaS?
SaaS, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What?
I don't know. Oh, I thought you had it.
No, I wanted to ask you. Okay. So as you were talking, I think I don't know if everybody, it's just elder millennial thing. Maybe it's just our experiences that make us that way. But for me, what I've noticed is that when I just have a job, a full-time job, you know, I'm going to work, and yeah, everything's great. I love it. I come home, I'm thinking, what now? What do I do now? Well, I can't just sit here and watch TV for the rest of the day, right? So I feel like you're kind of like that, where you have your audio engineering, that's your job, that makes your money.
Yeah.
But other than that, you're like, I can't just sit around and do nothing now. Right. I have to do something else that makes me who I am, right?
It's weird. It's weird because I'm an introvert.
So am I.
And so,
you don't believe that?
And like when I think about the things that I've done in my life, I'm like, that's scary. Like I wouldn't do that, but I did that.
But people wouldn't believe you if you told them they're an introvert, right?
Yeah, that's true.
So what makes you an introvert?
I want to be alone.
Yeah.
I don't talk as much. I grew up. I had a lot of trauma as a kid, and so I ended up being quiet a lot.
Yeah.
And so I changed my life at 24. I was at rock bottom. Like I would go to work, go home, that's it. You know, I would look out the window and be scared to go outside.
Really?
Yeah. At 24. And so I realized I needed to change my life. And so I moved from Greensboro to here. And I found the law of attraction. And I started studying the law of attraction, which changed my life completely.
I don't really know a whole lot about that, so tell me, give me a summary of it.
Law of attraction is basically thinking positive.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So you think positive, believe in what you believe. Your dreams will come true if you think positive and you take action on that.
So did you start by reading a lot about it, or were you kind of just watching YouTube videos? What were you doing?
Both. Reading. I started with, it's like I don't know what you call it, but it's kind of like a documentary, The Secret.
Okay.
I started with that, and then I started with, and then I ran into my neighbor that became my best friend, and he was in a band, and one of the things that I really wanted to learn is how to communicate. I didn't know how to communicate with people. I didn't know how to have conversations. And so he taught me about the pickup artistry, I guess you could say, is when guys or girls go out and pick up girls and stuff like that. But like for me, I wanted to learn that because that's how you communicate with people. You walk up to random people and start talking, right? Yeah. And so I started doing that when they had gigs, and so I just became good at it. How do you feel
now? You're amazing. You know, this is the first time we're meeting, and no awkwardness. You're a great communicator.
Hey.
I'll give you that. Or you put up a great front, if that's
I think it's
what
both.
it is.
I think it's both. Sometimes I can feel my nervous system high,
Yeah.
and I start like shaking inside, and I have to like calm myself down.
Is it when you're around a lot of people, or what makes you feel that way?
I guess being put on the spot.
To me today.
yeah. Pretty much what you're doing right now.
See what it feels like?
Yeah, I know. I'm never doing it again.
Ooh.
But I also took improv as well.
Ah, nice.
And
Is
so-
it where? Was it here in Raleigh?
Here in Raleigh, yeah. And I think that's when I really started to embrace. I was always really goofy, like Jim Carrey.
Yeah.
And so I started to embrace and control my goofy side and into normal conversations.
Okay. So was that kind of like, that's just how you manage your anxiety, by being goofy and funny,
I think so.
right?
I think so. I mean, that's one of the reasons.
We're
of
like
ways.
twins.
Oh, are you goofy? I could see that from you.
So that's the thing. That's the thing that I was very curious about you. Just the way you tell stories, like as we're talking, I can sort of resonate, when I say something, I'm thinking maybe this is what I've seen your clips, right?
Yeah.
It's just the way you pick out just the right thing. Do you
Yeah.
know what I'm talking
Yeah, I
about?
know what
Because you
you're talking
probably go through the whole footage or just a text script or whatever, and you pick out that moment from it, which is gonna touch people.
Yeah.
Is it emotional? Is it inspiring? Right.
Right.
So, and it may seem easy to others, but I know it's not. Right. It takes a lot of thinking. It takes skill.
Yeah, I guess so.
Not everybody can do that.
To me, it's more about I just want to know as a person. That's something that I would ask.
Yeah.
So I just ask it.
So today, do you feel that all the things that you were saying, communication and you being nervous or anxious in front, how do you feel today?
Jeez.
What?
The tables have turned.
How do you like that?
Today I feel still nervous, but fine overall.
Okay. Yeah. I don't have a lot of friends. I actually barely have any friends.
Okay.
I mean, I know a lot of good people that are in my life.
Sure.
That when we hang out, I can have comfortable conversations with them, and I love spending time with them. But that traditional sense of friendship, where you have that person in your life, or I don't have that in my life, for many different reasons. I can't connect. I can't relate with a lot of people.
What do you think that is?
I do so many different things. Most people don't. Not that there's anything wrong with that. It's just people are focused. People have goals. I have sets of goals.
Yeah.
And I'm working towards all of them at all times. Just kind of like what you said. You have photography going, you have acting going, and you have right. Right now, as of last month, I have a full-time job, which I absolutely love, and I've loved the other 2 times in the past.
Right.
When I worked at the same company doing the same job, right?
Yeah.
So I have the full-time job, and then I have my business that I started 5 years ago.
Right.
I do social media stuff, Get to Know Raleigh. I absolutely love it. I do events in downtown Raleigh, and I have 2 little kids. Right, and I have a husband. So, and then I have family here too. So when do you make room for friends? So it just we fall out. Anytime somebody wants to hang out with me, like I would absolutely love to, but this is the time that I think I should just spend with my kids, right? Or this is what so it's just so hard to make time for that.
Especially when you have a family. I mean, that's
right. So it's not everybody is in a different stage in their lives.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Some people are just their kids are grown up and they just want to hang out. They want to have a good time.
Yeah.
Right. Or some people are it's just different. For me, it's just I work all day.
Yeah.
All day, all night.
Interesting. But I mean, it seems like you're doing all the things that make you happy.
And I love it. That's the problem, that I love it. You know, so I don't know who to complain to. Because when I say, oh my God, I'm working all day, my husband's like, well, stop.
Has there ever been a day where you want to go out for drinks or something like that with friends or something like that?
I just am not into that.
Or not just drinks, but just to hang out.
Hang out, I'd just rather sleep. I'm just so tired all the time.
Yeah.
But to answer your question, yes, I miss hanging out with my friends. But then that comes with the, I miss with the condition that I miss hanging out with my friends, given that I don't have to come home and catch up on all of that other stuff.
Yeah.
So it's just my priorities have shifted.
Right.
But gosh, I don't even know what we were talking about. Why are we talking about me and my friends?
I'm not sure. But that like for me, like when I hang out with anybody, I have to like schedule it. I have to put it on the calendar.
You can't just.
You know what I mean?
People can't just call you like, so what you doing now?
Right.
Coffee? And
they
gosh,
try.
I'm sorry.
They try, but I'm like, nah.
And see, here's another thing. Okay, we're meeting here today for the first time, and I know it's for the podcast, but the conversation that we're having right now. This is how I talk with my friends or the people that I do hang out with. If I cannot talk at this level, then I'm done. I don't want to sit there, talk about weather and just meaningless things and go home and probably not see you for another 6 months. And when we meet each other after 6 months, we talk about the same weather and, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that to me, it takes a lot of energy for me. That's when I feel like I'm an introvert because I love talking to people. I'm very social. I'm on social media. I do events. I can get up in front of a room and talk to people. But that's not what being an extrovert is, I think.
No.
Right? People don't get that.
It's because you're there for a specific reason.
And you prepare yourself for that.
Exactly.
You put up that front.
Right.
You're ready for it. You do a great job.
It's a switch.
And you love it, right? But when you go home, or I go home, I just want to. I read somewhere. I read this somewhere. I don't know if it's introverts. They need time to recharge.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't get to do that anymore, but I used to. I used to go to some event or party. I would spend 2 days sitting alone at a coffee shop reading a book.
To prepare yourself?
Afterwards, to kind of just recharge. Like, oh my God, I can't believe it. Just, oh my God, I just need to read a book.
Wow. Yeah.
I used to be like that because it was so hard for me to be around people. Like, I was kind of like that. When my best friend back in college, she had a baby, her baby's first birthday, she invited me and I said, I will come after everybody leaves. Is that okay? She knew me. She understood. That's
what I would do too.
Right?
Yeah.
And so and I said, I don't care how late that is. And so she called me when everybody was gone, and I went to see them, and her parents were still there.
Damn it!
I know. That's how I was.
Yeah. Did you ever feel like embarrassed that you were that way?
I was just too busy feeling. I was just too busy feeling that way. Like, I didn't want to be around people. I don't think I'm embarrassed as in like if I'm in the middle of a crowd and.
No, even calling up your friend and be like, you having a party? Oh, can you just call me when they're...
No, because that's... So, when I said I only make friends when I can talk at this level.
Yeah.
Even back then I was like that. I would only talk to or be friends with people that I was very comfortable with.
Right.
So I never felt uncomfortable saying that to my friend because I knew she knew me, right?
Interesting.
So I wasn't embarrassed about that because to me, she knew me. She's my friend. She'll get it, right?
I mean, it seems like you picked the right people too to do that.
Right.
With, you know what I mean? Like,
but there's not many, right?
No, there's not. I mean, like growing up in high school, even for me, I had a lot of friends, but they were all extroverts, and they never understood me. You know what I mean?
What'd you do? Oh, maybe that's why.
I think that's why I drank a lot.
You're like, you wouldn't even look out the window, right?
Yeah.
Oh boy. Okay.
Yeah, maybe that's why, because it got that bad. But yeah, no, it's just like I just never found the right people to be comfortable enough to say, hey, invite me over when everybody leaves. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but did you ever feel? I was never afraid to be alone. Ever. Even in college, same. I would hang out at the coffee shop studying, reading, always.
Yeah.
Did you ever, FOMO is what they call it, right? Did you ever have FOMO? Like fear of missing out? Like, oh, people are hanging out, I'm not part of that. Did you ever feel that way?
Probably, but never to the point where, no, actually, no.
Never enough to prompt an action.
Right, yeah. I think about it, I was like, oh, yeah, that's okay.
I never. Yeah, even when people joke about it, FOMO, I'm like, no.
Yeah.
There's no fear of, like, what am I missing out on,
right.
you know?
And I was completely comfortable just being on my own and just having fun by myself, you know, that kind of thing.
See, I told you, there was something common.
Yeah. No, we have a lot in common, that's for sure.
It's just the artistic nature, I guess. I think it's the storytelling, because you're able to tell stories when you can see them, when you can feel them, I guess. Right?
Yeah. And I'm sensitive to energy, too. I don't know if you are.
Explain that to me. I would love, I actually don't think about those things, so explain that to me. What do you mean energy? Like, what kind of energy are you getting from me today?
All good vibes.
I like that.
the vibration, you know, I could just feel the energy coming out of you. And like to me, I take that energy and kind of like melt it in with me. And like, it helps me like lift up and stuff like that. You know what I mean? But not just that, but like, I'm also sensitive to spirits energy.
What does that mean?
Like ghost. And stuff like
that. Okay.
But like that kind of energy, I can feel I'm sensitive to it and stuff like that.
You're scaring me a little.
I've been cut by spirits.
For real?
Yeah. So
like here in Raleigh? Not in this office.
Not in this office, no.
Okay.
But like when I walk into a room, when I'm in a room, I can feel if there's an energy.
Really?
Yeah. So I have a bunch of stories of different experiences.
I'm intrigued.
Okay.
Does that scare you, or is that a familiar feeling to you that you know how to manage?
It depends on energy, because if it's like you can always tell if it's a bad energy because the fear kind of comes in. You know what I mean?
Okay.
I remember at my parents' house.
Greensboro?
No, in Raleigh. Or in Garner. But my dog was looking at the kitchen and then looking at me, and I was like, what's going on? So I took my camera and took pictures. And then one of the pictures, there was like an orb. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And another experience is my parents' house. I was in my bedroom, and all of a sudden I heard the shower turn on. But no one was in the house except for my mom, but she was all the way in the other end of the house. And I could hear her sewing the machine. Like
you heard the shower actually turn on?
Yeah.
Was it on? Did you check?
Yeah, I had to turn it on.
What?
Yeah.
It was on?
Yeah. So, but I didn't feel any kind of bad spirits or bad energy.
This was at your home?
Right.
So it didn't bother you? It was familiar?
It's not that it was because of my home. It's because I don't think it was a bad spirit. Okay. I don't think anything, there's no harm being done. You know what I mean? So the fear wasn't kicking in at all. If the fear is there, then the spirit might be bad.
I understand that from your perspective. From my perspective, that happened, I would be scared.
Yeah. You never had any experiences like that?
No. I have a really weird one. I don't even know if it's just something I made up in my head. But growing up, I was always very afraid of dark. And the reason I know as a child back in the day was I was sitting with my dad. I must have been maybe 6 or 7 years old, I think. And he was reading a storybook to me. It was daytime. It was like afternoon. And I saw someone in the door, kind of just, you know. It could just be my imagination. I don't know. I was young and, you know, it's been 100 years. But I saw something and I started crying. And my dad started to kind of, you know, comfort me. I just remember that after that, I've just been scared, like afraid of dark. I cannot sleep in a room today. And I'm not afraid of things, you know, I've traveled alone, I've lived alone. But I cannot sleep in the dark. I just can't. So if I'm alone, I would leave a little bit of I actually usually have two lights on as a backup, just in case one turns off, the other one's going to be on.
Yeah.
Because something happens. if we're talking supernatural here, I don't know if this is supernatural, just psychological or whatever, but when I am sleeping with the lights off, I usually wake up screaming in the middle of the night.
Really?
Yes, it's weird.
Only because it's dark, or because...
I don't know. I get up scared. I wake up screaming, like for whatever different reasons. I'm freaking on camera right now talking about this weird stuff. But
it's interesting though.
It's interesting. It's weird because like everybody in my family knows about this. I would leave. I'm comfortable being alone, sleeping alone, and even sometimes I'm like, I want to sleep in the dark. It's nighttime, right?
Right.
So if I'm sleeping in a room with my kids or my husband, I'm fine. Dark is fine. But if I'm alone and the lights are off, even if I was comfortable going to bed, okay, I'm just gonna. My husband's in the other room or whatever. If I'm asleep, I would wake up screaming for whatever different reason. Like I would like. I don't know, I would dream that there's like a spider on me or just like somebody's standing next to me. This is weird stuff, right?
Yeah.
So
do you scare yourself sometimes? Like on purpose, not on purpose, but like...
If I think too much about this, yes.
Yeah, like your imagination just starts
yes,
to
yes. But that's the reason I do not sleep in the room with the lights off because I do not want to, like I will wake up in the middle of the night screaming.
Right.
So yes, that's the weirdest thing. And that's kind of like a constant with me too.
Yeah. I used to be, I guess I could say it was afraid of the dark, but I've learned to hone my energy and really trust that if I don't feel energy around me, then I'm okay, even if it's dark.
You mean you like turn it off, not feel it, is what you're saying? Oh, no. You're saying not feel, like you're not feeling anything.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Because like if I'm close my eyes, I could feel like someone's right here, right?
Yeah.
Same thing when I open my eyes, you know what I mean?
See, that's a good example, right?
Yeah.
Like if I close my eyes, I know you're there. Sometimes you do close your eyes and you feel like somebody's there. That would scare me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you have to wear eye mask when you sleep then?
No.
So you can leave the lights on?
I leave the lights on. I just leave with the light. I mean, that's only when I'm alone though.
Oh, okay.
If I'm sleeping with my husband or my kids are in the room, I'm fine. Yeah. I prefer sleeping in the dark. I prefer sleeping like a normal person,
Right.
But yeah, if I'm alone, like I'm traveling at a hotel or even in my, like I said, even in my house, if my husband's in a different room.
Yeah.
So it happened, my husband was traveling one time and my mom, because my kids were little, my mom came to help and I set her up in a guest room. So she was sleeping in her room, which was literally across the room from my bedroom. And the lights were off. I was like, nothing to scare about. The kids are probably going to cry in like 2 hours anyway. So, I woke up screaming in the middle of the night. My mom's like, what's wrong with you? I'm like, what's wrong with me? So it's just something that just happens, which, I mean, I've learned to manage. I just sleep with the light on and
that's it.
I'm cool.
I think one of the fears that I have when I have kids is it's dark time and they're just standing in the hallway.
Yes. That movie Shining.
Yeah, something like that.
I have twins, by the way.
Oh my God. Even worse. Has your
boys.
kids, have they done that before?
No.
Just standing randomly, like, why are you standing right there? Go back to bed.
No, not yet. No, they're 6 though, so maybe it'll happen sometimes, I guess. But yes. Yeah.
That's my experience with that.
So you're not afraid of the dark anymore, you said?
No.
You were before.
I was before because I didn't know. I think I would let my imagination just go.
That's what it is, right?
Yeah. Like, oh, what if a person just crawls and just comes up to me? I'm like, oh my God.
So if dark, that's what it is when you can't see. It's just, it's unfamiliar, a fear of unknown, right? What's out there that I cannot see right now?
Yeah.
If like somebody right here next to me that I can see.
And I kind of had like, the fear of the unknown. I think it was more happening more younger, and it translated into my life as well, not just with spirits.
Fear of unknown.
Fear of the unknown, right?
Yeah.
So like, even though I felt like I was taking big risk and people were telling me, wow, you take big risk and stuff like that, I still had a lot of fear of like, ooh, I don't know if I should do this.
Really?
And stuff like that.
Even though as you were taking the big risks.
Yeah.
There's a lot of unknown there with risks.
Yeah, it is.
Right? So you were
The thing with risk is that you probably have this too, is like when you have a thought, it's like, oh, you should do this, but then you don't listen to it.
Well, I would go do it.
Well, you don't listen to it.
What'd you say? Watch me do it.
But and then it tells you, it comes again. You should do this. Oh, I don't listen. But eventually, it tells you so many times that you can't ignore it, and then you end up doing it.
That's how your process works.
Sometimes.
Okay.
You know, depending on how big the risk is and all that stuff. So.
To me, it's the excitement. If I, it's not the fear of unknown. It's not even the FOMO, because FOMO would be like fear of missing out, right? I'm not.
Right.
It's the, what is it? What's on there? Like what's on the other side of this?
Right.
Right. If I were to, so I would say the biggest risk that I did ever take in my life so far, or the hardest one probably, was when I actually left my job to go start my business.
Yeah.
Right? It was a big one because it was a full-time job, great benefits. I was 14 years into my career and I had grown up to this point, you know. I was doing everything right, you know, like just the proper way. And then things just shifted the way, there was a lot going on in my personal life, you know, my kids were like less than a year old twins, you know. Right. So there was a lot going on there as well. So that was a big risk, but it was kind of lumped in with something that I had always wanted to do. I always wanted to start my own business just because I'd never done it before, you know.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
You just never knew what that business was?
I had ideas. I had a very specific idea that, and then I started working towards that idea for that entire year. I knew that I wanted to do it, but is it just one of those things where people just say, hey, one day I'm going to start my business. I've got this idea, you know? So that's what happened with me.
So that's why you kind of delayed it?
I delayed it because who leaves their job to start a business? Right. I mean, people do, but I mean, you know, it's a nice paycheck. Yeah. And why would you, you know, it's like, why am I doing this? Why would you, right? If you are where you want to be, what is the reason you're going to walk out of here? It's, you know, it was not just a job, it was my career, something that I had worked towards, right? So I don't know. I think it's just, you probably have that too. It's just that itch.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
Like, okay, I'm good, I'm happy here, but I could be doing more. Right? And it becomes worse when you actually come up with an idea and you're like, wait, I mean, how do I not do this now, right?
Yeah. It's crazy because like people would tell me, I was like, man, you do so many different things.
And you're like, probably like, I have this list of things that I still have to do, right?
Yeah, but at the same time, I do all these things, but I still feel like I could do more.
Yeah.
You know? I don't know what it is. But
I am so, like, my time is, how long did it take for us to schedule this?
Right.
But I'm just always thinking, like, what else can I, like, so now I've started to control that. I've started to manage that a little bit.
Okay.
When something comes up, I take a step back and I'm like, wait, do I really need to do that? You know? Done that, you know, I've done that.
List.
So I sort of have a priority list going, which is good.
Yeah, let's talk about your business that you started though. So it's One Eats?
Yes.
Okay.
Because everyone eats.
Yeah, there you go. So why that? Why that business?
Okay, so that's kind of a little bit what we were just talking about, right? Yeah, so right before I left like a year before I left my job. So when I had twins, my life just basically went, you know, like, what's going on here? Where the biggest thing that happened was our schedule changed at home. Like, I wasn't cooking anymore, and my husband were just always busy. The 2 kids, you know, like, when do you cook? When do you eat, right? So, and my husband and I, we always like to eat, you know, healthy-ish. You know, I'm not like, you know, super healthy or whatever, but just we try to kind of...
A normal amount.
Yeah. So I started thinking, so what I started doing was I started making these little packs of vegetables and herbs, and I would just put them in little Ziplocs. Yeah. And in the morning, I would just kind of stick them in with eggs and microwave them. So like a quick breakfast before work, right? And when things got really difficult for me to manage with kids and work, you know, there's a lot going on at work and, you know, a lot going on at home. I started thinking, you know, I was like, I have ideas. this is something that I do. There's other people who are dealing with this, you know? I can't be the only one. And if this is a good idea, and I was in marketing back then, right? So I was like, I'm marketing somebody else's product. Honestly, there's always a trigger point, right? There's always something that kind of just tells you to just, okay, fine, just do it, right?
Yeah.
I was in a meeting. So this was a senior level person in the organization, and they were talking about how they wanted to run this like a startup. Okay. And here, this is a huge global organization, right? And I have 2 little kids where I'm in a global role. I'm talking with, you know, this country at midnight, this country at like 4 a.m. You know, so it's just, I was just sitting there listening to them, and they were like, well, I want to run it like a startup. We all wear all hats. We give it our all. We work all day. And I'm like, if I'm going to work on a startup, I'm going to go start my own. Right? If I'm going to work like that. So that was just one of the things that happened. It was like my trigger point. And I came back home, and I think it was 2 months later, I picked up the phone and I called my boss, and I was like, I'm done. Tomorrow's my last.
You said 2 months later?
2 months later from that meeting. Because I sort of had all these, there's always something going on in the back of our heads, right? You know that, right? So I started, those 2 months, I started thinking, I want to do this, I want to pursue this. It was really, really hard, obviously, to pick up the phone. I was actually at Jabala in Lafayette Village, North Raleigh, you know that? I used to work from there, just because, you know, we used to work remote, so I liked that environment.
Right.
I picked up the phone, and for the first time in my life, I did not even offer a 2-week notice. I just picked up the phone and said, tomorrow's my last day. I can't take this. And my supervisor was like, I get it. You know, gosh, don't put this out there.
Why?
I don't know. I don't know. It's not going to hurt me. I hate to offend people.
Why are you offending people?
I don't know. Like people will
You're
know.
not offending anybody.
Okay,
You're not offending anybody.
Good.
I will never make you look bad.
Oh, I know that.
I promise you.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
But that's a big risk. I mean, you talk about things enough and it's going to happen, right? It's kind of what happened within those 2 months. In that
case, that was my first time. I mean, I had taken other risks before, right?
Right.
From leaving a really good job to, I'm going to go be a software developer, an entry-level software developer. So I go from here to here and then start back up, don't like it, go back, you know? So I had done those, so I guess you're right, I never thought of it like that. I kind of sort of had it in my nature where I was okay taking risks, where to me it was not big, right? To other people, did you just really do that, right? So yes, I never thought of it like that it was not that big of a deal for me, but maybe it was, you know, from looking from outside.
Right.
But to me, the biggest risk that I took was this, where I just kind of walked out of everything and I didn't know, you know. Of course, I do want to say, because other people have said this to me, where, you know, I tell my stories, you know, like, oh, and this is what happened, and then I walked out of my career, you know, I started my own company.
No!
Oh, yeah, and then here I just became an entrepreneur, right? People have pointed out, and they're right, you know. I am married, I have a husband who pays the bills. Right? A lot of people don't have that luxury to kind of just walk away and pursue whatever they want. And those that do take that risk, it's probably way bigger for them to take that risk than it was for me, right?
Yeah, sure.
For them, you know, and then...
And that doesn't make it bad.
No.
Either. Not at all. I think that's a beautiful thing.
For me or for them? Like,
for you. The fact that you can have somebody with you to support.
Yes.
In order to find
I couldn't have done
dream.
it without that.
Right.
Right? I
That's
probably...
a beautiful thing.
So before I quit, I went to my husband and I said, you know, you're going to be paying the bills. And he's like, well, I'm paying them anyway.
When have you paid bills?
And I'm like, well, the thing is, I had never depended, even though, I mean, we've been together, we've been married 15 years. And we have managed our finances very well, you know, like I'm going to save, you're going to pay the bills. That's how we do it, right? And then we travel or whatever. So we've never had issues like that, but I have been working since I graduated high school, right? And I've been very independent, not dependent. I've been very independent where I don't even want people to pay for my coffee, you know, like if I go out, I'm like, no, I got it, you know, I I don't want your money. You know?
Right.
So this was just, what do you call it, in principle or metaphorically, I was now his dependent, you know? Well, actually, technically too, right? So it was a big deal for me to not be making money and taking care of my own expenses.
Right.
In theory. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does, yeah.
So that's why that was the hardest decision. Now looking back, I realize there are other people who have it worse, right?
Yeah. But there's always going to be people who have it worse. And there's always going to be people who have it better.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But see, here's the thing. You hear of the failure rate of small businesses. What is like 2-3 years or whatever, and then they shut down, right? I've been running my business for 5 years. I think it's a success because it gave me exactly what I wanted from it. Okay. It has not made me a millionaire. I was not looking for that. It's because the first 3 or 4 years, I barely made any money. First 3 years at least. Like I was just working. Any money that I made, I basically put it back.
Yeah.
And the reason is I actually didn't take any investors. I started everything on my own. So whatever I was making, I was putting it. I was growing the business, right?
Right.
If it had been someone who was worried about paying their bills, they would probably approach it differently.
Sure.
They would make different decisions. They would be more concerned with paying their bills versus growing the business. They want a business that actually pays their bills.
Right.
They don't want a hobby, like, you know?
Yeah.
So my situation was different, and I was very fortunate. So I think there's something that I like to point out, that I am mindful of that.
Right.
That I take risks, but I'm fortunate. I'm lucky. I have the luxury to take risks. Right.
That's a good thing. I mean, that you were able to do that.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people don't.
Would you consider, you're a small business owner, right? Or are you a freelancer? How do you identify?
I will say that Focus Like Creative is the photography, videography business.
That's a business.
That I have.
It's a small business,
but
right?
it's not like it's like I'm completely focused on it, or
it's your side gig.
It's kind of like a side gig.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know. So that's kind of where that is.
Okay, and then you have your main gig that pays the bills.
Exactly.
So you can do whatever you want in the time that you have outside of that.
Yeah.
Right.
And then, I'm hoping this grows enough to the point where this becomes a main income.
So what's your plan? I'm so intrigued by this, your podcast. What do you want to do with it? Where is it 5 years from today?
I will say that there's different ways I could approach it, right? As far as like making money doing this. There's sponsorships. I thought about like a 3-tier sponsorship proposals. And I'm still growing the YouTube. I'm still, and I think I can't remember I think there was one more, but I can't remember right now. But I'm just kind of, as I'm doing this, I'm thinking about ways that I can make money from this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it will help me a lot. And it not just helps me, but it helps my guests. It helps the community. You know, because my guests are the community around me.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta pay the bills, right? You gotta make the money. You want to do that doing something that you absolutely love. Right. And I love talking to people, doing the interviews, right?
Yeah, it's fun.
I love the editing, most days. Depends on who I have.
Right. I get that.
Right?
Yeah.
I wonder how do you feel about this? Be honest. I edit videos. What do you think?
No, I think this is great. I think I might have a harder time editing it.
You're like, yeah, this is great. Why?
No, I think this is different.
Why?
You're the first guest where it's different.
Why? What's different?
Because usually when I have guests on, we're talking about them only. We're talking about their life and why they made the decisions they did.
Do you get bored sometimes?
No, everybody's fun. But I think, yes, those are deep conversations that I have, but I feel like our conversation goes even deeper.
Good.
It gets down to like the root. of it.
It's like how are we similar? Why are we doing this?
Yeah, it's almost like that's what the episode is. It's like
Right.
how are we similar? What are your behaviors? What are my behaviors? And
Yes. So
stuff like
psychoanalysis.
Yeah.
Have you ever been in therapy?
Twice.
How did that end up? Like,
Well,
and how long each?
just one time each.
You said twice. Oh, so
well,
one
like one session and then another session.
with the same therapist?
It's the same therapy. And that's it.
Yeah. Why did you quit, or did they quit?
No, it's not. I don't know. I'm gonna get a therapist in January.
Okay.
Once my insurance kicks in. But okay, I'll tell you. I'll go back to just give you some context. So like when I was acting, there was an exercise that I do. It's called the Lee Strasberg technique, and it's where you're sitting and you're holding tension somewhere, and then you're moving and releasing that tension with sound, right? And then that tension moves. to
This is
another
an
part.
exercise?
Exercise, yeah.
Okay, I never heard of that. That's very, very interesting.
So I did that for an hour, and then I did that for a whole year, and then with that, it just it relaxes you. You know what I mean?
Interesting.
Because you're getting that tension out, and so. But the thing is, you have muscle memory, and so all that trauma that you have stored in your muscles can come out, and so.
Is that so? You look. It sounds like you've actually, like, studied this, or okay, because I've heard about these things. I just wasn't sure. Is it really true?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and then it took me a year to break through, and all the trauma that I went to just poured out. You know, I remember I was crying, and the teacher came up to me to hug me.
Teacher, so you were in school?
Just a one-on-one.
Oh, I see. Yeah,
kind of
okay.
thing. And her dog came up to me and put his head on my lap and stuff like that. I was like, oh. But I didn't know how to deal with that once that happened. So that's why I saw a therapist. But I'm the type of person that it's like I know what to do and I know what the problem is, but sometimes I just don't know how to fix it. And that's where a therapist is good.
Okay, so why just two then?
Honestly, I think it came down to money.
Yeah, okay.
I went back then.
But did you enjoy? I mean, did it do for you what it needed to?
A little bit. I just don't think I can judge it because it was only 2 times.
Yeah, I guess the first one's just kind of like intro, right?
Yeah.
You just kind of
Getting to know each other kind of
yeah.
thing. But yeah, but I am planning on getting a therapist. I have to get a therapist because I recently went through some family death.
Sorry to hear that.
And so I need to, talk to somebody about that because I could sense that it comes out when I'm doing different things and stuff like that.
Gosh, so many questions, very different from all of the things that you said. First of all, therapy, does it work? Do you think, if you went back to it, do you think it'll work for you?
So I think therapy works. I personally need to experience it more to give you a clear answer on that.
I've been in therapy and it didn't work.
You're still crazy?
No, I'll tell you what happened. I don't even remember how many sessions. I was seeing my therapist, so my doctor recommended that I go into therapy, right?
Okay.
I actually deal with chronic pain.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
I have fibromyalgia, which I don't really honestly know a whole lot about because I keep telling my doctor to fix it, and they're like, hey, "You're just gonna have to live with it," Do you know about fibromyalgia? Okay,
really,
yeah,
no.
it's just your muscles, it's chronic pain. I live with it. I'm always in pain. I'm in pain right now. I wake up in pain. The only thing that fixes it for me is when I go for runs. I work out. And I've been so busy for the past 6 months. I have not been.
Wow.
I've not.
So working
I just
out-
live in pain.
Wow.
Basically. So then my doctor said that, fibromyalgia could, the kind of pain that you're dealing with could come from depression or some kind of trauma or PTSD or whatever. And I'm like, no. So she was like, okay, well, she wanted to prescribe me depression medication. And I said, no, I'll just go run. Okay.
Right.
And I used to literally run to those sessions. Like my doctor doesn't live too far. I would just like run to her. And I'm like, I'm feeling really good today. And she's like, cause didn't you just run here? So she recommended that I go see a therapist. And we were, I think I was seeing them every 2 weeks or so. It lasted maybe 2 months until that one day we had this session, and my therapist was like, well, I think they fired me. She said, well, Sana, actually moving on to something different, so I'm going to assign you to someone else. And I'm like, I want to start over with someone else. So I just quit. I walked away. I was like, I'm done. I can't go through this whole drama, with someone else. So
sometimes it takes multiple people to find the right person.
My therapist fired me. I think that's my theory.
Yeah.
She did tell me she was moving away, but she's not gonna tell me, son. I can't.
That's funny. Yeah. Well, interesting. So you just stopped going.
I just stopped.
Gotcha.
I didn't feel like I needed that to fix my pain. I felt like I could just run it out, but then I got so busy. Yeah.
So do you feel like you didn't really experience the trauma that they were talking about, or you didn't experience trauma at all in your life, kind of thing?
It could be anything, honestly. When was this? This was during COVID. This is like 3-4 years ago, and my kids were like 2 years at that time, right? So it could be some trauma from childhood. I don't know. It could be, there's a lot of things happen, right?
Sure.
I don't want to blame anyone, for the way I grew up or my parents or there's all these little things. Nobody has a perfect life, right? Right. So I would say maybe. We went through a lot when my kids were born. They were both preemies. They were like 3 and 4 pounds. They were like tiny. Wow. And when they were born, one of them had to go through surgical procedures. Like he went through a lot. So we were in the NICU for 3 months straight, right after, I basically never went home.
Sure.
So it may be that, because that was a lot, I just had a baby, and there's a lot of physical stuff happens, a lot of emotional stuff happens, right? Yeah. So 2 years later, my doctor's saying that, okay, you need therapy, son. And I'm like, what are you talking about,
Do you feel like you express what you need to express in order to get it out? Or do you feel like you hold things in?
I think I'm very expressive.
Okay. Like even with your husband and stuff like that?
Yes, that's the thing. Like, going back to when I said earlier, I don't hang out or build those relationships where I cannot be who I am. Right? Right. So if you and I were like right now talking about weather, I would be looking at my watch like, oh, get out of here. Right? This is how my conversations are. Right. I just don't really talk this much usually. Gosh, what was I saying?
So do you hold in? Do you hold it in, or do you express? Do you let it go?
I think I'm very expressive. And I want. So when I build those relationships, that's my expectation of them. That I'm gonna tell you exactly how I feel. Maybe it doesn't always go well with them, Sure. So I would say I don't hold it in. Okay. But that's with people that I am comfortable with, right? But you're not always around those people. So there's like broader family and friends group that I absolutely love, but I wouldn't want to burden them with how I feel, right? So
even if it's about them?
You mean like if I'm upset with them, or
upset, or there's a problem that has to do with them, or anything like that?
That changed for me three years ago, actually, specifically. I made a huge change in my life, and a good change for me. Yeah. This is cliche. I guess you probably hear a lot of people say this, that people that are, I hate to use the word toxic, because what's toxic to me is just a figment of my imagination, I guess. That's not toxic to the person. You know what? I hate to use that word, but so up until then, I was more like, I don't want to offend that person. I want to be nice to them, and we're family or we're friends. We're good with each other. It's okay. I'll just hang out and then I go home. It's all good. No need to offend anyone or make things bad. But 3 years ago, just, the situation, the way things happen, I decided that if I'm not happy with someone, if someone's been hurting me or they're not serving me in a positive, not like serving, I guess, what's the word?
I mean,
if there's negativity, right? You just walk away from it. You just literally walk away from it. Do not try to work it out, especially if this is something that you've already tried in your life, right? I walked away from very close relationships where not with a fight, not with like, you do this, I'm gonna, just leave you or whatever. But it was more like, okay, I'm happy, I'm happy where I am. You're happy where you are. If we ever run into each other, if we ever talk, we're gonna be good to each other. But I'm not gonna reach out, and I'm gonna expect that you don't reach out to me. Let's just. So it was.
And you actually said that to them? Or was it more?
It was more like implied, where there were no fights, no arguments. Right? And people get busy. People don't. Everybody has their own issues, right? So it's like, I'm not the center of anybody's universe, unfortunately, So when you get in a position where you haven't talked in months and you stop reaching out, they stop reaching out, right? So it becomes natural, right? But then there were some people that were very close to me that we were talking all the time, and I just cut that off. I just like, okay, this is it. And the way it happened was we had just like a minor argument, and I was talking to my dad, and my dad said that, they said that you guys do this all the time, you'll be fine. And I was like, no, I will not be fine.
Right.
We do this, this is a cycle. We do this all the time, right? I'm done.
Right.
And that was the moment I never approached that person after that. And this person actually never approached me, and now we're here 3 years later. I'm hearing, don't put this on there. Now I hear from other people like, so you guys don't talk anymore. Like, I never stopped talking to anyone. You know what I'm saying? But that taught me that it's okay to walk away, and I have done that. Anytime there's negativity, instead of trying to fix it, I think what I'm trying to say is something very similar, like simple, and it took me like 5 minutes to get to the point.
I get what you're saying.
But what I'm trying to say is that if a person isn't right for you, whether it's friend, family, whatever, boyfriend, husband, they're never going to be right for you. Right? You can maybe you can try, but you cannot like push it. So you just walk away. It's okay. People live on. It's okay is what I learned, that
it's hard. It's hard sometimes.
The sky's not going to come crashing down if we never spoke again, right? But we're not on bad terms. If you ever approach me, I'm here.
Right.
Does that make sense?
It does. It does make sense. Yeah. It can be. I feel like it's tougher to do that when it's like a long-term friend. Like maybe you've known him for a
Have you had to
long
do that ever?
Yeah, and I feel like I have to do that sometimes now, but I haven't done it yet.
You've never done this? You've never walked away from someone?
No, I have, but I'm thinking about like a particular person in my life right now.
Yeah.
That I feel like I have to do that, but I haven't done it yet.
Put that on there. They will know.
So, but yeah, I get it. But yeah, no, it's tough.
But are you talking like, what's the hardest part? Is it having those conversations, or is it just convincing yourself that this is it, we're done?
I think it's that.
Right?
Yeah.
Because once you're past that, it's okay. You just, right?
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, it's just about when I have to make that decision.
So when are you going to do? When are you going to do that?
Right now.
Do it. Pick up the phone.
No, stop recording.
Give me your phone. I'll text for you.
But okay, let's because we're running out of time.
Yeah.
Let's get into get to know Raleigh.
Yes.
How did you start that? Why did you start that?
So, opportunities, right? One. What do you say? You walk through one door, there's like 5 other doors. So it's just like, an opportunity after opportunity. Mm-hmm. I'll just give you a quick summary of how I got here from when I left my job. Like, why am I? Get to know Raleigh is probably one of the most favorite things that I do right now. Mm-hmm. I absolutely love it. Mm-hmm. So when I started my business, and I had, all these years of corporate experience and marketing experience, and it took me 6 months to launch. After I quit, I started my company. It took me 6 months to launch my product, and I did it at a farmer's market at Moore Square.
Oh, okay.
It was my first day, I was setting up my booth. I'm going to sell at my farmer's. It was their farmer's market. It was the COVID year too. Nobody really showed up that. Wow. I think I sold for like $30 or something, but that was my big launch, right? Mm-hmm. And then I got to meet all these people like me, mm-hmm. Like other business owners, candles and soaps and doing their own thing. Mm-hmm. That was it was a different world. It's not the world that I knew. Like I told you earlier, my world was, you go to school and then you have engineering and then you do everything a certain way.
Right.
There's no right or wrong. It's just different worlds. Mm-hmm. So this was different for me. But then just because I wasn't familiar with this, I didn't know. I just expected that if somebody started their business, they knew what they're doing. Right. Otherwise, how can you? Well, I learned very quickly that no, people don't always know what they're doing. Yeah. It just takes a certain kind of person to just go out and do it, mm-hmm. and they figure it out, right?
They're just guessing.
So that was my thing, when I started my business, I wanted everything to be perfect. Like, marketing, my website was perfect, my social media was perfect on ORv&x. There was one day, this lady, she came to the event and she was like, oh, I was looking for you last week. You weren't here. I was like, yeah, I wasn't here last week. And she was like, yeah. But it was like, you can always buy these online. She was like, yeah, I didn't want the big guys to get the business. I wanted to buy it from you. And I was like, I took that as a compliment. I was like, oh my God, you think my website is that professional? Like the big guy. I'm the big guy. Sorry. Like I'm the big guy, like it's all me. So, but then I realized that when I'm not incorporated anymore, I'm a small business owner. Yeah. People are not buying from me, like who I am, that's where the stories actually matter, who's the person. So she wanted to buy from me the same product, not from the website. And it was, I think, a year after I had started my business when I learned that. That really changed the way I did things on ORv&x social media. I actually started building my personal account, which how we connected, right? It was basically not there. I mean, it was very private-ish before then. So that's when it was for business. I started building my personal account. Like I wanted to show people who I am. This is what I do. This is how I live my life, playing piano or drawing and then running my business, So that was my approach. And then I started learning that there are other people like me, business owners, they have no marketing background. They don't even know how to get their voices out. Right. So anyway, that was basically what that was the trigger point for all of this. I partnered with a small business owner in the area. We started doing events at Moore Square. We started doing markets where I met even more business owners. Right. We started working together, and then some of them would then ask me to give them a shout out on my social media, and I'm thinking my social media is not set up for that. Right? So that's kind of when I started thinking maybe I need a social media outlet just to kind of, there's so many influencer accounts, right? Creator accounts here. I never thought about starting one because like where do you even start, right? Right. But I wanted to tell stories. I didn't want to walk into a restaurant and, show the burger. I wanted to show the person who made the burger, right? Yeah. I mean, I kind of just do a mix of everything now, but that was the intention behind it. I wanted to show people and tell their stories. So that's how Get to Know Raleigh started. Nice. And then kind of just took all my events and everything under the Get to Know Raleigh umbrella. So now my, mission? Get to Know Raleigh's mission now is that connecting people not just online, but out in the real world through events.
I like that. I like that a lot.
All flow together.
Yeah. It's a really nice way that you did it too.
Thank you.
It's like you got opened into this new world, and you took full advantage of it.
Trying.
You know what I mean?
Right. I'm trying.
It's like it's almost like you thought about everybody else, and grouped them all together to make this.
Like other business.
Yeah, to get to know Raleigh. Get to know Raleigh.
Like get to know Raleigh, right?
Yeah.
You know Raleigh, but what makes Raleigh? Right? It's
exactly.
The people. It's always the people, right?
Yeah. So do you think how important do you think marketing is to a business?
Marketing?
Marketing, yeah.
Gosh.
It's everything, right?
I mean, if you can have the best product in the world, but if you can't market it, like what good is it?
Right.
marketing is everything.
Do you find like one strategy is better than another?
What, like in terms of what? Like what kind of strategy are you
Like
thinking?
marketing strategy, like people, like what's a common thing that you think people are doing wrong? When it comes to promoting their business.
It's a very common thing. People lead with their product, not their stories, right? And that's what if you go to anybody's social media today, including mine from 5 years ago, where I was trying to be very corporate in my little small business, it was all product. You see product. You will see some people showing their faces, and those are the people who do it differently, right?
Yeah.
But I think that is one mistake where people lead with their product, maybe because they feel like their story isn't important, or they're not important, or they're kind of shy. Maybe they don't want to put their face out there. But I think stories are important, and what makes a product. Like, who made this? There's a story behind this.
Sure.
Especially, it really applies for small business owners, right? This is not like corporate B2B marketing, right? Where you're leading with features and all that. So that's what I think.
Okay. So when you started off doing it on your own page, the marketing for that compared to how you do it now, is it completely different or is it pretty similar?
So
it's more personal now, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Storytelling is what's important. I think I've learned, and I'm still learning, and that's what caught me about your videos. They're short, right? They're like 10, 15 seconds, maybe 20, right?
Less than a minute.
Less than a minute, right? Because you post them on YouTube for shorts.
Sometimes, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because you can't do more than a minute.
A minute,
on shorts.
on shorts, yeah.
I try to keep mine less than a minute for that specific reason, because I want everything to be same.
Yeah.
But storytelling, I think I'm getting better at that. So if I were to quit everything and go back to One Eats and start promoting that just with my full attention today, I would be way better than what I was doing years ago. Obviously, I would have more content. I would create more content relating to my audience. I would show myself using my product or talking about my business. So it would be more personal.
Yeah.
Versus just here. Buy these. Here's a discount code.
Yeah. So the number one thing you suggest for business owners is story.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Storytelling. Who are you? Why did you come up with this product? Yes, of course, sneak in things about your product, right? Like, why is it important to your audience? How can it help them? But kind of weave it into a story. People like to hear stories.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
One thing that you probably already know that we're talking about digital marketing here, right?
Sure.
Via social media, where people don't want to be sold to.
Yeah.
Right? You're not there pulling up your Instagram or Facebook. Today, I'm going to buy the first thing I see. The first ad that pops up.
Can I buy it today?
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Right? They're bored. They want entertainment. People like us, right? We're working or kids or whatever, or stress or trauma, just too much going on in life. You pick up your phone, you just kind of want to escape.
Yeah.
So what can you tell me? Entertain me. Entertain me.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah, that's
like
true.
the big secret. You're gonna put it out there.
Everybody knows. You heard it here first. But that's great. I think you're doing really big things.
Stop saying that. I don't know about that. But yeah, thank you. So are you.
Okay, all right. Accept the damn compliment.
Is that your closing?
No, I really like what you're doing. I think you're spreading the words of this thing we call Raleigh, and in North Carolina.
I love Raleigh, North Carolina.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you love about it the most?
It's home. It's home for me. It's just, I love that it's home. I wanna now, for the past 2 years, since I started Get to Know Raleigh, I actually started learning about how the city works. I started reaching out to people that are actually making a difference.
Yeah.
And like the city council people and the people on boards and commissions and things like that. So I actually got on 2 boards. I'm on the environmental advisory board, and I just 2 months ago got on the Hispanic and Immigrants Affairs board, and that I'm very excited about this one, because then I get to give back to people like me.
Well, what happens when you're on the board? Like, what's your role there?
So we're all volunteers.
Okay.
Right? We depending on what board you're on, what topic you're talking about, we're advisors to the city council.
You're basically putting in your input.
Yes, we have a liaison from the council. One of the people from, depending on which group you're on, you're going to have one person from the council kind of be that liaison. They sometimes won't show up to the meetings, but they're supposed to be part of those meetings, just to kind of, we're like the voice of community.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We're volunteers, everybody diverse backgrounds, we're not specialized in anything. I think they bring up different issues where, we give them our feedback and things like that.
Okay, gotcha.
Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
I think every time you ask me a question, I go into this big hole. Okay, well, let me tell you about this and just.
Well, that's the way you have to kind of.
I can't talk direct. I just can't. I can't summarize things. I have to talk through the whole thing, and then in the end, I'm like, wait, I could have just summarized it in like 2 words.
I mean, to be honest.
Communication. I'm learning.
I'd rather you just do long form instead of 2 words, because it.
Has that ever happened to you?
Yes. And then I'm like, oh, that's it? Okay.
Really? Like you sit down for an interview, and it's just like.
Sometimes it's like they give me a short answer and I'm like,
tell me more.
Okay, yeah, so like
more, yeah.
that, doing these things and having different types of guests, it really strengthens and helps you grow as an interviewer. You know what I mean?
It's interesting. I'm very and it's very interesting to me that you're doing this, because what I do is still a little bit different in terms of how I do it.
Sure.
I would sit down, and before we do it, they know exactly what I'm doing. Like, today we're gonna highlight your business, so you're gonna tell me all about what you're doing, right?
Right.
But I have done those where I would sit down and I'll tell them we're gonna talk for an hour, and I'm going to extract a story out of it. And I ask them questions like you're asking me, which I'm very uncomfortable with. I don't like it, right? I ask them questions, and I see people getting nervous. Sometimes they cry. People have cried on camera. I don't know if you've dealt with that. It's just the nerve of you're opening up. You're talking to someone. It is like therapy, right? And I'm just sitting there thinking, don't worry about it. It's okay, I'll edit it out, right? But then you put me on camera, I'm like, right, let's not do that, So it's there's something about being seen or being heard or opening up. It's just very uncomfortable.
It can be very uncomfortable, but at the same time, people have to realize that we're all human, and your uncomfortability makes it okay for somebody else to express themselves.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It could change a life. What goes back to what I said.
But here's the thing. A lot of what you do, you put it on social media, and that's how people see it, right? Unless they know you in person, because then they know, the kind of this is how you are, right? Because I've seen you, and I'm seeing you in person, and you're exactly how I see you on social media, right? But if somebody's just kind of scrolling, and they see somebody opening up, to them it's real. It's real. It's like reality TV, right? It's real.
Right.
But to them, it's entertainment. It's still not.
It's entertainment for others.
It's not real enough until you know that person. To them, it's like something they saw on social media. You know what I'm saying?
There's levels. There's levels to that. I mean, it's. You said it's not real to them, right? Is that what you said?
I feel, okay, so I'm very active on social media, right? Social media is not real life, right? So a lot of the times when I meet people, I feel like they think they know me, but they don't, right?
Yeah.
So, but then again, I think what I was trying to say, but that's a different topic. I just went on a different thing. What I was saying was being able to open up, uncomfortability, what you said, right?
Yeah.
It's like when you see something on TV, it's not real. It's not real. It's real, but it's not real enough for you. It's not like your reality.
Right. It's someone else's reality. You're just kind of looking at it from the outside, kind of thing.
So it's not. You don't really absorb it. You're just kind of scrolling through. Okay, that person opened up, whatever. Okay. Yeah. So it just depends on the person too.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's okay. You know what I mean? To some, it's gonna be like that. To others, it's gonna be, oh man, I relate to it so much. You know what I mean? Because I've been through that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But there's all these different types of. Everyone is different.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's okay that someone feels this way, and it's okay that someone feels that way.
That's what makes it fun.
That's exactly right. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
It was a great conversation.
Yeah, I really loved it. Honestly, if you want to tell everybody where they can find you and where they can find your pages?
Find me on Get to Know Raleigh. Get to with a 2, not T-O.
Yeah.
Get to Know Raleigh What do you want me to?
Oh, I don't know.
I told you, don't make me talk to the camera. I do not talk to the camera.
You want to promote One Eats?
Oh, no, I'm good.
No, okay. So
Thank
get
you.
to know Raleigh.
Yeah.
I really appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
though.
Yes. I do want to say something to the camera.
Yeah, go for it.
I partner with the city of Raleigh to do events at Moore Square every first Friday of the month. So we take a break during the colder months, but we come back. We'll most likely come back next year in April or so. But our last event of the year is November 1st, first Friday. And what we do is free movies, food trucks, live music, market. It's a good time. It's a free family fun event.
Nice. That's Moore Square.
Moore Square,
November
downtown
1st.
Raleigh. Yeah, every first Friday of the month. November is the final event of the year.
Gotcha. And that's what time? Do you know?
5 to 9 p.m.
Okay.
Or you can just go to Get to Know Raleigh to learn all about it.
Cool.
But yes, 5 p.m.
Awesome.
Yes.
Well,
Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate it. Oh, proper.
You're very proper, very proper.
That's right.
Is that good?
Yeah, that's it.
Are we good? Can I just... Okay, I'm done. Take it out.
Jesus Christ.